8 months after Hillary Clinton's loss in the presidential election and on the heels of a string of losses in special election, a former Clinton insider is urging the Democratic Party to move away from the left and closer to the center, writing in an op-ed, the path back to power for the Democratic Party today, as it was in the 90s, is unquestionably the move to the center and reject the siren calls of the left, whose policies and ideas have weakened the party. Here now, one of the men who wrote that piece, pollster and former senior advisor to the Clintons, Mark Penn. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so who's pulled the party so far out to the left? Is it Bernie and Elizabeth Warren?
I think that there's a lot pulling it to the left. I think activist groups, big donor money. I think Sanders and Warren, and I think the vacuum that is in the party after the last presidential race, in which Hillary Clinton, everyone thought was going to win.
Mm-hmm. The problem for the Democrats is they have lost the support among working class voters, and Democrats don't get elected unless they've got them. How do you get them back?
Well, I think that's where the Democrats have a real opportunity. They're leaving so many issues on the table. Take infrastructure. Where's the Democratic infrastructure plan? I think they should come out with one right now. What about the opioid crisis? What about some of the crime that we're seeing in major cities? What about the growth of the concentration of economic power in the tech industry? That could be a prime issue for Democrats.
Sure.
I think there are a lot of new issues, not just old ones, that Democrats can use to prove that they could restore leadership in the 21st century here.
In your op-ed, you talk a little bit about how the Democratic Party has shown disdain for religion and has been so immersed in identity politics that's really damaged the brand.
Yeah, I think that, again, if you go back to the 90s, the party was involved in a lot with identity politics,
right,
with believing there should be a government program that would solve every problem instead of creating opportunity, instead of, I think at this point, really understanding the cultural disconnect between the party and working class voters who want to be respected for values of hard work, religion, and family. And I think there's room for that in the Democratic Party without question.
Okay, well, you've got some problems now. People on the left don't like your op-ed. The Huffington Post says, hey, it's 2017. Democrats should really stop taking Mark Penn's advice. The Washington Post says, breaking, the Democratic Party is different now than it was in 1995. And Slate says the silliest advice in that asinine New York Times op-ed promoting Democratic centrism. Mark, your lefty friends are steamed at you.
Well, look, I knew that I would be poking the bear a bit with this article, but it had to be written. More people have to stand up for the center because the country's in the center. Yeah. Look, only 27% of the country is liberal. Democrats know that. 3/4 are moderate or conservative. And the primary system in particular is squeezing out the voice of moderates.
Right.
One of the things I say is, let's get rid of caucuses. Let's make the Democratic primary process more democratic, right, by having it all based on primaries. Those caucuses favor activists, give the left too much power in the party.
All right. It's a provocative op-ed in the pages of the New York Times. Mark Penn, thank you very much for joining us live today.
Thank you.
All right. What do you think about that? Let us know. Meanwhile, President Trump in Poland talking tough on terror.
We are fighting hard